Okay. All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? How are you? How are you doing, guys? Today, good morning to everyone. I'm happy to connect with you. Good morning. It's a beautiful Monday here. Give me 1 second. Let me put this. I'm doing very fine. Augustine, Tete, Uzo, Munira, Abba. Good morning, guys. I'm very fine. This morning, I made a post and I shared the post. Um, this post was this video is inspired by the post by the basketball player for Lakers. His name is Montrell's Harris. He's a basketball player for the Los Angeles Lakers. He was with LA Clippers and they traded him to Lakers, and he's on his way out to Washington Wizards because he has just been traded by Lakers to Washington Wizards in exchange for Russell Westbrook. Okay, Montreal Harris is somebody I love on the pitch. When he's playing, he's very hardworking. He's a very, very aggressive player. I love him personally. I don't support Lakers. I don't support the Clippers. I'm a Toronto Raptors fan. But he made a post this morning. If you haven't seen it, you basically in his post he is saying that this life has no more meaning. He doesn't seem to connect with life, this thing called life anymore. All right, he said he doesn't seem to connect with this thing called life anymore. I don't know him personally, um, but it looks like he's going through a tough moment. So people are commenting under the post and they're offering all kind of help. Some say that they have an expert, a professional who can help him with therapy and stuff like that. Now, on the face value, some people are going to say like, wait a minute, this guy is making millions of dollars. He's a basketball player. Can he even have this kind of problem? And yes, rich people have problems, huh? Rich people do have problems. I used to think that when you are rich, you will not have a problem at all. That it is only poor people who have problems. Everybody has problems. The rich people have problems. The professionals you see around you, the lawyers, the doctors, they have problems. The the people you admire so much in society have their own problems. Poor people have their own problems too. Basically, all I'm saying is that all humans, both young and old, have problems. Even babies too, they have problems. So even babies that we see, they have problems. Sometimes they will cry, even though their mind is not developed, they will cry and cry. They have their own problems. Everybody has problems. We all have them. It doesn't matter whether you are a president or a servant, you have your own problem. And you see, the problems of life, which are existential, meaning that they are part of life so long as we live in this body, they seem to be unending. And sometimes our level of understanding of life will reflect on how we respond to problems. Everybody has problems. I'm going to start by talking about problems in life and how they can transform into other things. When I became a Christian, it was in the early 2000s when I became a Christian. I was born again in a Baptist church in Manprobi Baptist Church. I had made friends with a Liberian family, a family from Liberia. And as I went there on a daily basis to eat in their house, my problem there was food. I didn't have food. My house, it was difficult for me to find food. So I used to just go to the Liberian refugees in Ghana, in my neighborhood that time. I used to just go to their house, they would feed me. But as they were feeding me, they were also feeding me with the word of God. So somewhere along the line, I became born again. Maybe I became born again because of my stomach problems, which was food. But I became born again in the early 2000s. It wasn't until 2017 that I had a personal connection with God. In other words, if I was in your church, where your pastor, one of these men of God, where they touch people, where they fall down, you can rest assured I wouldn't have fallen down at all. I was one of those who had suspicion about these modern pastors who were just going around and, putting their hand on people, and then sometimes they don't even near the people. Our women are very good at that. The ladies in the churches, they are good at that. The pastor stands behind. The moment he does this, everybody's falling on the, everybody just fall. I used to have suspicion about that a lot. And so I was telling myself that, you know what, if this thing is real, if God is real and people are really experiencing him and falling down far away, like the late TB Joshua style, far away, receive it and everybody just fall. I used to tell myself that if this is real, I really want to experience it myself. I don't want nobody to just, I don't want to fake it as a Christian. Anyway, fast forward. I want you to note the gap here. I became a Christian in the early 2000s, around 2002 thereabout. But I never had a spiritual encounter until 2017. That is pretty a long time, man. That was more than almost 2 decades, almost 20 years after I became a born again. When I became a born again, I was a teenager. But I used to go to church, and I used to still mess around still. I used to go to church. I'll come back. Sometimes we go and chase girls a little bit. Sometimes we go and do something naughty a little bit with friends. I did all of those stuff, right? And Sunday morning, sometimes the Sunday that we go to church, that is a Sunday that I'll go and mess around. Even after church, we go and mess around big time. We did all those nasty things growing up, but we are still in church. To be honest, I personally think that I was just a church goer. You know, a church goer, the one who goes to church but does not live and practice the things that we're supposed to do. I was that type. I used to just go to church. In fact, when I was in the university in Ghana, during my undergraduate days, between 2008 to 2012, those 4 years when I was in the University of Ghana doing my bachelor's, I almost became an atheist. All of what I'm saying, I'm trying to connect it to something about the post that I've made. So you're going to understand it at some point. When I was in University of Ghana, I almost became an atheist. You are hearing this from my mouth. I almost became an atheist. Now you might want to ask me why I almost became an atheist. Because I went through a lot of stuff in life at that time. Financially, there were problems. Paying of fees was stressful. To even get a student loan from the SNATE, SNATE in Ghana is what we call Social Security and National, SNATE is what takes care of pensioners in Ghana, pensioners, right? And they had a student loan where if your parent or if you have somebody, a relative or somebody who is a contributor to the SNATE fund, that person can guarantee for you to be given a student loan. I tried to get one. I tried to get my father to even guarantee for me to get a loan to pay my bills, my school fees, accommodation. Those were the biggest problems I had at that time in the university. My brothers and sisters, it stressed me. The money was too small at that time, but it was too big for me. My friends didn't seem to have, most of my friends didn't have those problems. So their parents from rich home, they were sleeping in even me, to get somebody to pledge If I talk perch now, if you're not in Ghana, you understand. You understand perching. I don't know how you call it in your country. Perching is when you sleep on the same bed with a friend by begging him and say, I have nowhere. Allow me to come and sleep on the side of your bed. Student mattress, small. But you have to squeeze yourself. Sometimes we sleep on the floor in a student hostel or room. That's what we call perching, like a bed that is perching on a tree. Huh? In Ghana, we call that term perching, to perch somebody. Okay? Even to find somewhere to perch, somebody to perch was a problem. And I remember feeling so bad about it. I started blaming everybody around me. I blamed my father. I blamed my family members. I blamed my uncles. One of my uncles is actually on this platform right now watching this. I blamed my uncles. I blamed everybody. In fact, I even blamed the people of the church I was going to. You know why I was blaming them? You say Kachi in the tower says we call it squatting in university in Zimbabwe, squatting. So you call it squatting, we call it perching, huh? So you see how similar they are. Look, guys, around those times when I was going through my difficulties, I was desperately looking for some people to blame. So let me tell you the people I started blaming. I started blaming my family, that if my father had lived a better life, I wouldn't be suffering. Have you done that before? I blamed my uncles, that if my uncles really cared about me, they wouldn't watch me struggle. I blame my grandparents. I blame them because I said if they didn't give birth to my father, who also came and found my mother impregnated, I wouldn't be born into this wicked world and be suffering. I blamed everybody. Then I blame my friends too. I blame my friends for not being too caring, that if their parents care so much, why didn't they even care about me a little bit to also give me a little bit of food on campus? I blamed everybody. Now, I didn't stop there. Remember, when it comes to the blame game, you don't stop. You look for everybody to blame. Then I started blaming the people of the church I was going on campus. Now, don't get me wrong. When I say I blamed, I did not walk to them and point fingers at them. Some of my family members I did. So my father got a really, really good portion of it. I used to blame him. He knows it. Me and him, we used to argue like this, I used to blame him and blame it. If you lived a better life, I wouldn't be suffering like they today. My uncle knows it. In fact, at a point, I told my uncle, the one who is watching me now, I told him, I said, look, tomorrow, if I succeed, none of you should come near me. I said it. I said, none of you should come near me because you've shown that you don't care about me at all. None of you should near me. That was the anger I had at that time. That when I was going through my struggle, I did not see anybody show real concern. Not my friends, not like it was as if I was an outcast, an outcast, like a leper. Nobody wanted, like, to even eat was a problem. Hi. The people in my church, I used to go to church on Sunday. When it was offering time, I never gave offering. I didn't even understand why I needed to give offering. Me, where I no get. That I was suffering. You are telling me to come and give offering and come and give 9 days of whatever the promise. Those kind of offerings. I used to watch them behind like that with my eye like that. So as they preach now, look, the people in church, if you know what is going through the mind of some people in church, you won't believe it. Some of them have different levels of stress and problems. So, my guys, I used to go to church and I used to pray that somebody in a church will even recognize or show concern for the poor people among us in church. There was nothing like that. Of course, the president of my student ministry at that time on campus, a Nigerian guy, Elijah, Elijah, who's a Yoruba guy. I think his last name is Adeniji, Elijah Adeniji. He was the then president of the student ministry on campus. He was on the same floor with me where I was perching. Once in a while, he will call me and give me food. Once in a while, he'll give me something. But to say to say how I felt at that time, I did not see the love from the church coming out to the rescue of people who were struggling. It was as if nobody really paid attention to that spot. And this thing is still continuing in churches, so I don't want you to see it as me alone. There are people that come to church all right on Sundays that have real problems, real life problems. But you see, the people in church who are the regular people are so busy after church, greeting their own buddies and friends. Nobody pays attention to the poor man at the back who showed up today, right? That boy at the back, that girl at the back. Nobody goes to talk to him after church. You see them just standing there like that, hoping that somebody will even notice them and walk to them and say hello. Nobody does. And then they walk away with all their problems. Sometimes the reason why these people come to our churches, it's not because of the word of God, though. It's one of them. But they come in there because they want somebody to talk to you. Guys, at the time when I used to go to church, it felt as if there were clubs within the church where people were only connecting to the people they knew. You understand what I mean? Like people they after church service, best friends are connecting. People we know class, like class, people of class are connecting. And the ajepakos at the back, nobody cares about them. We all stay back. We stay and walk around hoping that somebody will notice us and say hello. If they no talk hello, now we go walk. Smooth. Take our problems, go like that. It's still real. It happens. Even the church you go today, there is a chance that when you close, the poor man who comes to visit today, nobody's going to notice him. Nobody's going to talk to him. You are going to be busy talking to your own friends and the people you know. And nobody notices that stranger who walked in today. That was how I felt. I was like that stranger, hoping that somebody will notice me. I was blaming everybody. That even the Christian community, nobody seemed to care. Yet this Bible is talking about show love, show love, show love. I was blaming everybody. Now let me tell you the last person I blame now. The last person I came to blame was God. I started blaming God from my university days. I blamed God. And, having received a little bit of education, I was making very good use of education. I also studied a little bit of ethical religion, which is like a philosophical study of religions in university, a little bit of that. It was one of the minor courses that I did. So I was familiar with the argument of atheists like David Hume, who has died. Okay, the British philosopher, religious philosopher David Hume, the argument he made about God, that if God is so loving, why does he allow so much suffering in this world? Have you wondered about that? Have you asked that question before? Right? That guy, most people, they don't believe in God just because of this. So that if God is so loving, if he's so caring, how does he permit COVID to even happen and kill people and kill your own family members? Why does he allow your own parents or your siblings to go through stroke and die? Why did he allow your parents to go through an accident and die? If God is so loving, why does he allow this to happen? Did you ask those questions? Yes. David Hume has written articles, 80s, some of the biggest 80s you see today. This is one of their biggest challenges in coming to terms with the idea of God. They don't understand why we claim we have a Father who is all loving, so caring, and he's so gracious. He's most gracious, right? But when then they look around, people are going through what they are going through in Afghanistan. People are going through what they are going through in Syria. People are doing their migrant journeys across Syria, across Libya, and they are dying. That somebody in Ghana is being raped by a monster. And then we say there is a God. And the question these people ask they are very logical questions. They are like, where is God when all these things are happening? When somebody is choking my brother and killing him, where is God? Are these not fair questions to us? They are very fair. They are very good questions to us. In fact, I like to suggest to you that these people you see today who are atheists, some of them became atheists at the height of personal problems in lives. Yes. When you see somebody who is an atheist, they just didn't wake up to be atheists. Almost all of us are born to be religious. We are raised to be religious. Do you see that? But when we grow up, there is a point where we begin to have a conflict between the existential problems we face on daily basis and the place and the role of God in our lives. And so when we have difficulty reconciling these two, we then flip our senses and say there is no God. You see it? Look at me. I said at the time when I almost became an atheist, it was because all my problems were so severe personally that I did not see a God actively playing a role in my perspective. I didn't see God come to my rescue. Do you see that? I didn't see my family members come to my rescue. In fact, if anybody knows me from that time, you know, me and my father had a long bad relationship just because I used to blame him from my miseries in life. You see, I said if he was not going around and piping and making babies, I wouldn't be here suffering like this. Maybe I would have been somewhere quiet in my mother's stomach. You see, some of I want you to, you know, I'm a real. I don't fake this. I say them as they are. If I can talk about my own family, you can tell I don't hide things. I say them as they are. Hmm? Guys, many people in life have become atheists, not because they have found serious arguments against the lack of existence of God. Oh, listen carefully. Not because they have found serious arguments or evidence against the fact that God does not exist. Oh, but it is because the personal problems they have at different levels, family, finances, mental, whatever, huh? They do not see in their own opinion, perspective. They think that God is not at work in their lives. I'm going to give you a couple of biblical examples to make this point. There was a man who lived a very righteous life and was very upright. The Bible said he was one of the most upright people you could find at that time. Everything was right for him. He had a good family, beautiful kids, a beautiful wife. He had all the money in the world you can think of. This man didn't go around to rob people. He didn't do drugs. He didn't do anything. He was not doing women. One day, it was as if the universe had designed all the calamities and then they heaped it on him. He lost everything. He lost his children. His wife began to question him. He was inflicted with diseases. He lost all his businesses and everything he had, he lost it. The man's life was reduced from wealth, affluence, to a commoner with sickness. That man is called Job, Job. We are not the first to suffer. Job had already suffered gargantuan levels of suffering. You see it? He became stressed. He became depressed. He became angry. See these three things, they are connected. It starts from stress. And let me start. It starts from disappointment. What is disappointment? You are disappointed in God. You are disappointed in your family members. You are disappointed in your friends that they are not there to help you. You are disappointed in your own manager and your boss that they hate you. They don't like you. You are disappointed in everybody, including even the president of your country. And then it turns into anger. Disappointment now turns into anger. What is disappointment? It is an unmet expectation. When you have a certain expectation and it doesn't get met, it begins turning into anger a little bit. For example, some of you have sent me messages. The messages are in my inboxes or my emails. You've been hoping and expecting me to respond at the time that you want. As I don't respond at that time now, you begin forming all kind of opinions about me. This guy is not really that caring as he says he is. Because you see, you had an expectation that the moment you send Choco Millionaire, he's going to respond. You see him. So as he hasn't responded now, you've allowed your mind to form all kind of opinions. And as you're sitting there, you are getting stressed. You don't even feel like tuning in anymore to watch me. Now it turns into anger. So when you see me, the joy that you used to have now is turning into anger. And that anger at a time will turn into stress. And the stress will turn into another pain and depression and everything. This is how things work. It starts with disappointment. Tell me, are you really pissed about something? Are you really angry about something? I'm telling you, it starts from disappointment. That visa that you apply for, that your expectation was just one way that you are going to get it. The moment the visa doesn't come the way you want it, now it turns into anger. Anger towards who? The visa officer. Anger towards who? The agent who gave it to you. Anger towards who? Everybody in your life. And then that anger begins to turn into something else, and it begins growing into stress, and at a point depression, and at a point now you begin to give up on life. Look, it works in stages. I went through that. So when you see people at a serious level of depression and stress, it simply means they had certain expectations. You have an expectation of your wife. You are hoping your wife would have made, look, during the early days of my marriage, yeah, when I was very young and naive, I used to go to work, having an expectation that my wife will make food for me. Not just food, a certain type of food for me. When I come home and that kind of food is not there already, my face begins changing. I begin to get disappointed now that she knows my favorite food, yet she didn't make it today, and she made something else. And then if you don't manage that kind of disappointment smartly now, it turns into anger. Now at a point, it's no longer about just the food. You begin to now pick it on the person who made the food, and it begins to turn into anger. And that anger, if not managed, begins to turn into something else that begins growing now. This thing you call anger and stuff, huh? You see Stoneboy and Shatawale's problem when they were at the music award and one pulled a gun. It was not an impulse action by Stoneboy. I'm telling you today, Stoneboy just didn't out of the blue just pick a gun like this, trying to point it and scare Shatawale. He's hard. I am telling you, you can let him watch this video. I don't know him, but I'm telling you because this is how things work. He's had a lot of disappointment with Shatawale in the past. The way he expected Shatawale to behave, Shatawale was not doing it. And so he has heaped it inside him, disappoint him. The way Shatawale talks about him in public, he doesn't like it. And because he does not seem to like what Shatawale is saying, and he does not deal with it well, he begins to travel from or migrate from the level of disappointment now to anger. Now remember, when you get angered now, it simply means that you are offended by that person. You no longer just hate what they do, you hate the very person who is doing it. Anger. Then anger begins to build into the senior brother called bitterness. Hey, when you get to that point of bitterness now, it's dangerous. Bitterness, it's like poison. When you aggravate from anger to bitterness, when you are doing things, your senses get blocked. Your mind that will judge you to do right and wrong, your conscience even get blocked. You don't think twice. And then after the bitterness now, the least chance that you get, we call it a trigger factor. The least thing that will trigger it now, boom, you act. You see the man that killed the wife in the US, the pastor. I don't know him, but this is how things start. The man has certain expectations of the wife. The wife also has certain expectations of the husband. So when both of them now don't meet those expectations now, they get disappointed in each other. Have you ever said to somebody, I'm disappointed in you? Do you know why? Because you were hoping the person will behave in a certain way that you want. The moment the person doesn't do it, now you're disappointed. Have you ever been disappointed with your girlfriend? Today you were hoping that she will give you sex. So as that plan didn't go as you wanted now, you are now disappointed in your girlfriend. When she visited, she didn't give you sex. And as she didn't give you sex now, it changes your mood completely. And then you are moving from disappointment level to anger. And at a point now, that love that you have for her begins to small change. And then it's chipping away. From love, it's changing. And bitterness, the bile is beginning to creep in. Most marriages, this is where our problems come from. So if the feeling you had about your friend or your spouse is no longer the same, check and see the different ways that your spouse has disappointed you. You see it? I can go on and talk. Is it wrong to have expectations of people? It's not wrong. Is it wrong for me to have expectations from my wife? That, for example, as I'm sitting here now, I have my own expectations. If she were to wake up today, I'm imagining that as I'm doing a video, she will probably help Joanna if Joanna has woke up, or she will help John Henry. You see, all humans have expectations. But here is what the problem is. If you have an expectation of somebody, you don't wish you can turn them into a robot. That is where the problem is. You see, the way we have expectations, we wish we can turn everybody into a robot. You have an expectation of the visa officer, You wish you can even turn him into a robot where he's just approving your visa fast, true of us. You have expectation of your girlfriend. You wish you can turn your girlfriend into a robot to just respond to you and do whatever you want. You have an expectation of your president. You wish you can turn your president into a robot to do everything that you want for him to do for your country. True of us. That is a problem with man. We wish you can turn everybody into a robot to do what we want. I will never give it a thought that humans are not robots. They have free will. They have the right to make their own choices. So as much as I have my expectations of my wife, I should also expect that she also has her own choices. She can choose not to do them. So those of us who get extremely disappointed, we are people that wish everything will work the way we want it. And normally when they don't work the way we want them to work it, we become disappointed in the people. Yes, the husband is coming home, he's expecting a certain kind of food. That is expectation. But what is forgotten is that the wife is a human being with a choice. So if the woman doesn't do it exactly as he wants it now, trouble don't gas. The wife is also expecting something from the husband. I'm in the kitchen working or cooking. Why can't my husband give me a hand in the laundry room and do laundry or take care of the kids? You see, the wife also has an expectation of the husband. The moment the husband doesn't do it, she begins to get stressed and disappointed in the husband. Remember what I'm saying. It's not wrong to have expectations of people, but it's definitely wrong to wish everybody is a robot. It's not wrong for you to send me a message and hope I respond. But it's definitely wrong to wish you turn me into a robot sitting and answering your message. That is nonsense, so not with me. Some of you are stressed, just waiting for me to respond, just because I haven't responded. You wish I was your robot, huh? You're sitting there and responding. Nonsense. Take it somewhere else, not me. See, you see where we get stressed? We wish we can control everything in life by ourselves. But the truth is, there is a limit to what you can control. Yes, I am the one putting to you today. The moment you realize in life, you don't always win all the time, that is the time that you begin to understand life. Job wished he could control the universe. How? He wished if he was the one in charge, he wouldn't have lost all his businesses and his children. Do you see that? You wish if you are the one in charge, your mama didn't die. You wish if you are the one in charge, your father did not die. You wish if you were the one in charge, you did not get fired, you stayed on that job. You wish if you were the one in charge, your visa gets approved with no rejection. You wish if you were the one in charge, your boyfriend listens to you all the time and does exactly what you want. The moment these wishes don't get fulfilled now, you begin stressed and disappointed and begin to hate everybody around you. Do you see it? You wish you can even turn Choco Millionaire into a zombie and a robot so that when I come, I will do exactly what you want me to do. If it's immigration that you want, when I come, I don't even talk. You see, have you noticed some people even get stressed when I talk about stuff like this? They wish when I come, I'm just talking about immigration. Do you see it? They wish already they can turn me into a robot so that when I come, I just do what they want. What they've forgotten is that I'm a human being with my own choices. Do you see where the problem starts? Guys, humans are born with free will. If you ever have the power to control everything that everybody does, come and let me know. That person you are controlling is no longer a human being. They become a puppet and a slave. God knew this right from the beginning. He gave us free will for a reason. You see, if God did not give us a free will, then he couldn't have given Adam the choice to decide which tree to eat from. He gave them the choice. See that? Yeah. Some people wish they can even control all of that. And notice the moment Adam screwed up, he started blaming everybody, huh? He first blamed the woman. He said, Lord, it wasn't me, it was the woman. And then by the time God started talking to him more, he began blaming God. He said, it wasn't me, it was the woman you gave me. In other words, God, now you cause her. I was in my lonely place, so if you didn't give me this woman, how will it be here? Have you been blaming people like I did? I blame my father. I no longer blame my father because I'm wise enough to do that now. But I used to blame my father. I used to blame my uncles. I used to blame my aunties. And I used to say that if I ever succeed, none of them should come near me. I used to. Have you been blaming everybody? Are you blaming the director of the education service you work for? Are you blaming your manager at work? Are you blaming the government? Are you blaming everybody? Yes. When you blame everybody except you, what it basically means is that you wish you have a magical wand to control everybody and everything. You see that? Unfortunately, you are not yet there living in that kind of world. We live in a world Well, no matter what you do, humans have choices. Do you see that? Yeah. People have choices, and it's their right to make those choices. Now, let me talk about the post now. The gentleman made a post. He's a basketball player with Los Angeles Lakers. He's on his way out of Los Angeles Lakers. In fact, he moved to them about a year ago from Clippers, another team called Clippers, to Lakers. And his dream was to build his life with Lakers. In just 1 year, he's been traded. Traded means he's being sent to another team. Clearly, he doesn't seem to like the idea of going to Washington Wizards. His name is Montrezl Harrell. He's a defender for the Lakers. Now, this man, I understand, also has his own personal problem. But the point here is, some people will think that how can a basketball player who is making millions of dollars be going through depression? I want you to go back and read that post. At the end of the post, he said he does not see any meaning with life anymore. He doesn't seem to connect with this thing called life. And I want you to know this. For people to have gotten to the point where life doesn't make sense to them anymore, it means they were disappointed. And that disappointment made them angry about something. And that anger now turned to bitterness. And that unmanaged bitterness now begins to come out in ways that in fact, when they are writing, they don't even think about it anymore. You see that? He's basically saying in that post, he's giving up on this thing called life. So now people are beginning to message him and say, you know what? We can help you deal with that problem you're having. Remember I said the root of problems that are not managed well is what leads to all of these things. You see? Good. Now, my daughter is here. You know what it means. I'm going to pick her up. All right. Now, guys, listen to this part here. I had all these problems too. Even though I was a poor man, I had all the problems. I got to the point where I almost gave up in life. Life didn't make sense to me. I want you to be honest with me, guys. Have you ever gotten to the point where you've been pushing hard and doing everything, but things just don't work for you? And then one day you sit back and you ask yourself, what is the point in even living this life? I contemplated suicide once when I was in the University of Ghana. Yes, you won't believe it. My best friends didn't even know this. I contemplated suicide once. And normally when people get to the point of committing suicide, they have gone through all the stages of the things I talked about. And they get to a point that they don't even see the value or the importance of living anymore. And at that point, remember what I said about that stage. When you get to that stage, your mind becomes so unclear. Your judgment becomes so unclear. You basically have no conscience anymore. And that is where the devil begins to come in and feed you with all the negative vibes. And then some of them, all they have to do is to pull the trigger. It could be a gun to shoot somebody. It could be a knife to shoot somebody. It could be. So for Stonebwoy to have gotten to that point to pull the gun out of his pocket, he was at the very height of all his problem with Shatta Wale. You see, and within a split seconds, you wouldn't even notice it. You take a gun. Look at Big G, the guy who died with Tupac. He had all this problem. He had all this personal problem. Tupac, they had all this problem. Lil Wayne, the musician, the rapper, he did an interview recently. If you can go and find that interview, please go back and talk about it. Huh? Go and watch that video. Look, he's gotten all the money and the fame. He said life just doesn't seem to make sense to him now. After all the money and the fame, even wealthy and rich people go through this. You know why? There is a reason why, my brothers. For you to really understand this universe, you need to understand the things I'm about to talk about. First, you need to understand what we call the purpose and meaning of life. 2, you need to understand your calling in life. 3, you need to understand why you believe in the things you believe as a man. 4, you need to now begin activating yourself by taking action to flow in your calling. 5, you need to now begin building integrity, a life and living a life of integrity. 5 things I talked about. I'm going to go back and talk about them one more time. Until you understand why you are on this universe, which is your purpose, you will not understand your calling, which is what you were designed to do. And until you understand the purpose of your life and why you are on this life, which is your calling, you will not be able to fix your belief systems. What is belief system? The things we believe as humans, the things I have come to believe, the things you believe. It's not just the things I believe as a Christian, the things I believe as a human being in general. You see, it never will make sense to you unless you fix item 1 and 2, which is purpose of life. Why you yourself are here and what your calling is. Your calling in life is what you were designed to do as a human being. Purpose, your calling, belief system. Do you see that? These 3 things, seriously serious. What happens is that many people skip these 3 and then they jump straight into taking action to succeed. In other words, they begin looking for work. They begin working hard. They want to build a house. They want to have a family. They want to have kids. Look at all these people in life. Oh. They are activating themselves in the area of things they do. They are playing basketball. They are singing, Whitney Houston. Singing, right? The late Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson. You see, they are doing so well. Look at it well. I said they have gone to stage number 3 by activating themselves. What is activation of yourself? It means you are beginning to do the things that you're so good at. You're a footballer like Ronaldo. You're playing, you're seeding. And these people will build all kind of success, material success, all kind of things at level 3, which is they have activated themselves. They are flowing in their calling or whatever it is by using their gifts, their talent, their skills. Musicians, blah, 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 actress, right? And then from that now, they try to build a certain image for the public to see. For them, that is the image they see. Sometimes the image that they build and put outside is not the same as the image of their own private life. I'm going to say it. The things that they put out, for example, the things that I put out today is what I want you guys to see. But it's possible that whatever I'm putting out is not what I'm doing in real life, in my private life. You see, now at that stage, they are building what we call brand for themselves. You see it? But when it gets to that stage, people who have gone through all the stages the way I have described them, they don't build a brand for themselves. They just project their integrity. What is integrity? Integrity means whatever I do in my private life, now here they show you guys my public life. You see, but brand says that be deliberate and put something out there and let people see you. Let people see you as a Whitney Houston with no problems, no personal issues. Lil Wayne with no issues. Basketball player with no issues. You have all the money. Meanwhile, your private life, you're struggling. Do you see that? The moment there is a disconnect between your private life and your public life, you are no longer living a life of integrity. You are faking a life called brand, building just a brand. Do you see it? Notice what I said. Most people skip number 1, number 2, and number 3. And then they zoom straight into they skip number 1 and 2, and they zoom straight to number 3, which is where many of us today we find ourselves. In fact, many of you who are following me are likely to find yourself in number 3. What is number 3? We want to succeed. We want to go to Canada. We want to do this. We want to build a house. We want to have a job. We want to have... It's number 3. You are trying to activate yourself. You're trying to flourish. You're trying to live a better life. And then after living that now, you now want to build a certain brand on social media, for people to see. It's number 3. You understand what I mean? But the part that we all skip is the first 2 stages. The purpose of life and our calling, understanding our calling. I was not able to figure out this until I was at the age of 30. That was in 2017. I had lost my job at that time. And I began nagging and asking God all the questions, just like Job did. And it was through those turmoil and those moments of my disappointment in life, that was when God began to reveal things to me. And that was actually the first time I experienced the hand of God in my life. It was as if God was just on a telephone, just talking to me. I told my wife. I called my wife and I said, honey, I had never experienced stuff like this before. And it happened 3 days in a row. From that day, I knew I had experienced God the way Paul did. From that day, I knew I had had an encounter with God. And from that day, I experienced something called an inner joy. You know what an inner joy is? It is a joy that cannot be explained in words. It is a joy that gives you, it's like you trying to solve a puzzle. And then whatever you're trying, the puzzle, not the word. And then one day you figure out the clue. You see that kind of joy you feel, huh? When you figure out a clue, that was the joy I had. And basically, what was that joy? I was activating myself without asking the purpose of life, without asking the question of why I am here, without asking the question of what God wants me to be doing. You see, I was busily doing what I wanted to do. And because I was busily doing what I just wanted to do, without connecting with the one who created me, what happened was that I went through all kinds of frustrations, losing of my job, getting all kind of, bad things. It feels as if bad things are just designed to happen to you. Do you see that? And then what happens after that? You begin blaming everybody else. You begin blaming everybody else. Guys, when I got to that point, everything started coming together now. So anybody who knows me from 2017, look at it all. I lost my job in 2017 in Canada. The next day, my car had an accident in Canada. Look at it too. One day I lost my job. The next day, my car had an accident. And then I was without a job. So I began playing Job, the sufferer, asking God all kind of questions. God, you dey? You sure say you be the man Baba we dey the top? Are you sure say we ain't my water up or? Eh? Are you really sure? Let me just sort out madam. Huh? 1 second. Let me sort it out. Be back.
Oh, hello. Well,
Yeah, daddy is coming, okay? Go sit down. Come sit down here, okay? Sit down. Good. Guys, some of us are busily activating ourselves. What do I mean by that? We're trying to build success. We are trying to build a house. We are trying to get a good job. We are trying to achieve that degree, become a PhD holder, professor, get an appointment with the government, travel, save money, do stuff, travel, have vacation, succeed in your career. You are at the stage where you are activating yourself. There is no problem with you doing that. But the one thing I've come to learn is this. Remember, I'm not a philosopher. Now, God really teach me. The one thing I've come to learn is this. Those who move into gear number 3 to activate themselves without connecting with God, they always become restless. They become restless. What kind of restlessness am I talking about? It is all kinds of restlessness. The first restlessness is spiritual restlessness. Second restlessness is emotional restlessness. Third restlessness is physical restlessness. You see, the man you are seeing post as a basketball player, he is going through restlessness. It is one level of it. But in all of them, the biggest restlessness is the spiritual one. Sometimes the success you need is not even physical. You first need a spiritual success and breakthrough. You see that? And in Christianity, we call it salvation. Yeah, you heard me right. You see, until you get spiritual rest from God, you will not have the energy, the clarity, and the soundness of mind to pursue physical rest. Do you see that? All the celebrities, you watch them. If they pursue the materialism, at a point, they become restless. There are a few instances in the Bible of a rich man who pursued all the wealth in this world. And he sat back and looked at all the barns he has and all the money he's accumulated. And he said, now I can go on a spending spree and enjoy my life and have pleasure, physical pleasure. God looked at him and said, you moron, you idiot. See, you have activated yourself into gear number 3. You see, you have not even activated 1 and 2. You've moved straight to gear number 3. The day I will call you and demand your soul, that is when you realize you've been a fool. It is in the Bible, the parable of the rich man. That rich man activated himself straight into gear 3. He built all the wealth in the world. I don't know Whitney Houston, but I know she was a successful singer. It's possible she activated herself in gear number 3. I'm not judging her. Yeah. Remember what we said about people in gear number 3? They can have all the things of this world, but they will still feel something is missing. I said, go and look for that interview of Lil Wayne, the rapper. He said he still finds that something is missing. He has been on the bigger stages. He's done all the albums, but something inside him is telling him something is missing. Yes. Even if you're not a believer, you're going to feel it inside you. Something is missing. What is that? Spiritual restlessness. Until you find spiritual rest, you won't get it. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus said, come to me, all you who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. What kind of rest? Spiritual rest. Spiritual rest is the most important rest that we all need. You see, this COVID times that we are going through, you might be looking for all kind of healing and vaccination and vaccine, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's not even the physical healing we need, huh? We need spiritual healing. You see, yeah. The moment I connected with that number 1 and 2, things just started flowing. I'm not trying to say I never encounter problems, or I'm cured from problems, but life began to make sense to me. All of a sudden, people now look at me and they think I'm a philosopher. Have you seen? Have you noticed? Look at it from 2017. Before then, I was not doing what I'm doing. Look at it. You look at it carefully. Before 2017, I was never doing any of what I'm doing. I was so busy, working. In 24 hours, I used to work 20 hours. I am not faking it. People who know me know I am a workaholic. I was busily working. You know why? I was trying to activate myself in gear number 3. Thinking that by working so hard, I'm going to win this thing called life. No. Look carefully. The man whose post I shared is a basketball player making millions, for God's sake. Some of us in our entire life, we never even make 1 million. No. You see him? But he is going through restlessness. Some of us Christians, we have not yet had an encounter. I'm sorry to say, if you're a churchgoer and you haven't really had a spiritual encounter, re-examine your life. Re-examine them. Remember me, 2001, 2002, 2003, all the way to 2017, I was showing up in church. And we are the ones that Jesus is telling us that on that day, we will say that we were in church every day and he say, I don't know you. Yes, thank God I didn't die before 2017. Else he would have said that thing to me maybe one day. I thought I was born again by just saying, Lord, I accept you. Yes, it's called confession. But did you really mean it in your heart? Is another thing. You see, spiritual rest. He said, come to me, all ye who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Spiritual rest. And after you get that spiritual rest from me, and you learn to make the kingdom of God the number 1 thing, seeking me first, the kingdom, I will give you the keys to move to gear number 2, to understand your purpose and your calling in life. And I will give you the keys to go into number 3, to activate yourself in your gifts and your talent and your skills. And then all the blessings of this world will be added to you. Do you see that? And when we talk about blessing, we are not talking about just success. We are talking about blessings that give you inner peace. The blessings of God have no sorrow. They add no sorrow. It's pure joy. You see, people who go through these 3 stages, even when they lose a loved one, they still sit back and thank God. You know why? They know God had a better plan for them. They don't blame God, though. So today, if something happens to my family, God forbid, if anything bad happened, I wouldn't blame God. You know why? Because I have come to understand him so well that we who know him so well, when suffering comes our way, he normally uses the suffering to build us up. It is in Romans chapter 5, verses 3 and 5. He said, count it all joy, those of you who know Christ, that when suffering comes to you, that suffering is not meant to harm you. It's meant to build you up. It's meant to refine you. It's meant to build you up. And it's meant to produce a better hope and a better future for you. Look at this. This same suffering, when it comes to a true believer, he counts it so much joy going through it. Not because he loves the pain he's going through physically, but he's come to understand God so well that God normally uses a temporal suffering and a brokenness to elevate us and to activate us for the next big stage. Those of us who really understand God knows that when we go through the Job crisis, it is meant to launch us to the next level. You see, now that I have eyes now and I've come to understand all these things, all the sufferings I went through university days, those were sufferings that God wanted me to go through so he could prepare me for today. Do you see how it makes sense now? So much sense, oh? See, now those sufferings were making tough like this, oh. In fact, if I didn't go through those suffering, I couldn't have learned how to become a businessman as a student on campus. Those of you who know me back in Legon, you know I was a student, but I was still doing other businesses to survive. In fact, those business skills that I pick on campus has made it easy for me to even live in Canada. See how they are all connected. Today, my mindset is so tough. When I see trouble, I don't see it as trouble. I see it as God working. But when a man who doesn't know God sees trouble, he begins to blame God because he doesn't understand trouble. You see it? All I'm saying is that suffering is part of this universe because of the physical brokenness of man from Adam. But those who are in Christ, we normally will say that we know our God so well that because we know him, he uses all the brokenness of the world to build us up. That everything will work for our good because we are Christian. It doesn't mean the Christian doesn't forsake. It doesn't mean the Christian will never get COVID. It doesn't mean the Christian will never experience a poor poverty in his life. But it means that we trust God and we know him so well that he is going to be using all these things as transitions to just elevate us. All I'm saying today is this: suffering is part of this world. It will never be erased. The day suffering gets erased is the day a new kingdom gets established and Jesus returns. Suffering will forever be part of us. But there are two ways to look at suffering. One is to look at suffering as something that exists because there is a non-caring and a non-loving God who is not omnipotent. That is for the man who doesn't know God. And the man who knows God says that God is working through the suffering of this universe to shape my life. Romans 5, 3-5. Count it all joy when you go through suffering, because you know and you know. You see, Jesus taught us a lot about this. When we don't understand these things, we interpret suffering from a human point of view as the absence of war, the absence of conflict, the absence of poverty, the absence of sickness, the absence of nothing, nothing. That is our definition. And so when these things happen now, we blame everybody and blame God. And then we say there is no suffering. You see that? Now I want you to go back and listen to or read the argument by David Hume, who said there is no God because there is so much evil in the world. And go and listen to some of the intelligent people in the world who said there is no God because it doesn't make sense for a baby to go through abortion or somebody to be raped and God didn't come to the rescue of that person, or for the war in Afghanistan to be going on while there is a God up there who has no concern. We who are believers know that God works through trouble to refine us, to make us better. Do you see the difference? And I also want to encourage you today, if you've been busy activating yourself at level 3, trying to pursue your own dreams, which we normally call ambitions. You know, I have my own ambitions. Go back and look at your ambitions. There is a good chance God is not part of that ambition, huh? Now your own ambition when you drive through, and God doesn't even feature in it at all. You've put him on the backside. You see, huh? We call it what do we call it? My ambition, or my goals. We call it goals. Huh? So anytime you hear people say my goals, my goals, my goals, and you never see God reflecting it, it simply means it's their own style and their own way of getting things done at level 3. And they've skipped knowing the man who put them here. And they've skipped understanding what exactly that man wants for them. See, the day I had that spiritual encounter, my God told me, young man, you've been going this way, but I had wanted you to go this way. See how opposite they are. See how opposite they are. I am going here. God wanted me to go here. Wow. I called my wife right away. And I said, honey, can you imagine? It felt as if it was vision. I couldn't sleep. My wife, if she was here, I would call her. She would testify to that. I had never experienced that thing all my life as a churchgoer. And from there, I just began having an inner peace and joy. Even though I had no job at that time. In less than 5 months, 6 months, I had a brand new job that I didn't even hustle to apply for. From a multi-million-dollar company. Right? And just within a few months of working there, I was able to buy my house. I'm not talking about materials, but it felt as if from that moment now, things just began connecting and connecting. You know what I mean? Whilst those days, I used to be a taxi driver, working all night, working in the day in the factory, working all night. And the more I worked, the more my eyes were red. Like, don't I look rested more now? Like, I look rested. When you talk to me, doesn't it look as if I have too much time now? Don't you feel that? Don't you feel like this guy? Hey, he doesn't even seem to be working. No, you see, like this is the beauty of God now. Because when you discover yourself and you find your purpose and you know God, it changes so much about how you should even walk. It changes so much about what you should even do at what time. And these things are not things that are commonly understood. Nobody teaches us this. We need to have a personal experience with God. And if you're watching me today and you are not a Christian, it doesn't matter. Remember, God shows up to those who really want to hear Him. In the Bible, it says, I keep knocking. You know what that means? He is knocking at the door of the unbeliever. He's knocking at the door of the man who doesn't look. Look at the things I talked about. Purpose of life, your calling, your belief, which is the things you believe, activating yourself, oh my goodness, and building and living a life of integrity. Do you see it? The moments you connect with God, you will even understand the things you've come to believe. Some of you believe in something today. You believe in something. It might be Jesus or it might be somebody else. It might be Buddha. It might be anything else. It might be even nothing at all. You believe in something. Have you seen the word belief show up there? Until you have number 1 checked. Number 2 checked. Your beliefs don't get fixed. Do you see that? Some of us, we don't even realize that the kind of things we believe is why we are living the kind of lives we live. Yes. I was born into a pagan family. My dad was a pagan. His grandfather or his own father was a pagan. In our family, paganism is what we're used to. We are always, so when I say paganism, you really understand what I mean by paganism. I'm not just saying it. I grew up as a pagan, in a pagan family. That's what I grew up believing. Don't you think it is okay for me to just grow up and say that, you know what, this is what my father exposed me to, so I will just believe it? But until I got to the point as an adult to begin questioning, what have I believed all this while? How did I even come to believe? How do I know whether what they've taught me is right or wrong? Have you gotten to the point of questioning yourself about that? What do you believe today? I'm asking you. What have you been believing since you were a child up to now? Did you pick them from your parents? Did you pick them from your friends? Have you ever sat down to examine whether the things you believe are true or not? And have you realized that until you fix your belief and you fix your own purpose in life and you fix your why you are here on earth, everything you do will just go around like this. You will be deceiving yourself that you have built houses, you have money in the bank account, you are going on vacation, but you will lack that spiritual rest that we're talking about. You cannot fix your belief without knowing God. And I am not talking about a corporate knowing of God. Say, this is what our family believes, so. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a personal relationship with God. I am putting the question to you today. If you are a Christian, have you personally experienced God in a supernatural way? I'm not talking about thunder breaking down and talking to you. Have you had that experience that has changed your life just once and for all? Have you had it? If you've never had it now, you know you are deceiving yourself now. Yes. If you've never had a spiritual encounter, you are deceiving yourself. Yes. Go sit there on Sundays, you are deceiving yourself. Go to church. Go and do all the hula ba. You're deceiving yourself. Because God reveals himself to those who know him. He shows up to them. Did he show up to Saul? Did he show up to Paul? Yes or no? He did. And from the moment he showed up to him, did you see how his life turned around? Can you look? Job, did God show up to him? Yes. At the time of his trouble, God showed up to him and God opened his eyes. From that time, did he life? See, all I'm saying is this. Whether you are a Christian or a non-Christian, until you take on a personal journey and an assignment to know the man behind this universe, even if you don't believe in him, I care less about how much money. You can have all the yachts in this world. You can have all the mansions in this world. On the very last day of your death, on your bed, you are going to really come to terms with the fact that you lost it all and you fought it wrongly. Simple as that. It doesn't matter what your parents have raised you up to be. It doesn't matter what you went through growing up to believe. I am giving you a personal task. Have you had a personal encounter with God? Or you believe there is no God? Even if you believe there is no God, have you done your own research to find out whether it is true the case that he doesn't exist? If you haven't done that, and you just believe there is no God, you are a fool. I'm telling you, you are a fool. A big fool. It's in the Bible. A fool says in that there is no God. You are such a fool. Yes. Remember what I'm saying. If you believe there is no God, I don't have a problem with you. But if you have not done your own research to disprove the fact that there is no God, and you are just sitting down, knowing that one day you will die, you are a big fool. A big fool. F-O-O-L. It's in the Bible. A fool says in his heart, there is no God. You are a fool. It's in the Bible. Now let me come to the Christians too. You going to church saying you're born again. Are you really having an encounter with Christ? Have you had that encounter with Christ? If you haven't, who are you deceiving? You or me or the pastor? Who are you deceiving when you go to church? Have you seen your life that when you go to church, you don't even carry the Bible? Have you seen your life? Have you seen your life? I'm not judging you. Until you have that spiritual encounter with him, you don't even need to go for a pastor to lay hands on you. Sit in your quiet moment. Ask him, engage him. That's what I did though. I was on my bed and I was just asking him all the questions. I don't do this, or I don't do this, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't do this, Lord. Why am I suffering? Why? I was very genuine in my heart. In other words, I wasn't faking it. I was just asking that question in the middle of the night, and he revealed himself to me. Have you had a moment of solitude to seek his face as a Christian? Or you are just busy body, as Paul talks about in the book of Corinthians, busy bodies, pretending to be Christians, yet you are not. Pretending to have a relationship with God, yet you are not. Remember, he said on that day, some of you will say, I was always there in church on Sundays, and you say, I don't know you. Then to my other people who hold a different belief, I am not trying to convert you to Christianity. God knows it's never my intention. In fact, I don't even have the power to convert anybody. I don't. Have you sat down to ask yourself, what have I believed all this while? That thing you believe today, have you done your own research to find out whether it is true or not? Now, have you even done a research to find out the arguments that have been raised by others about your faith? Yes. The moment I became wise, I started looking into all kinds of religions. Trust me, I read the Quran. Yes, you heard me. I read the Quran. I know about the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, I am not a Hindu. I read about the Bhagavad Gita. I know about Buddha. Yet I'm not a Buddhist. I know about the Jehovah's Witnesses. I know about everything. Do you know why? Because when you are in pursuit of the truth, you do not close your mind. You don't close your mind. Yo, no. Some of you have closed your mind. You don't even look at all the arguments that have been raised against your faith. Some of you today are in a certain faith today. Even in Christianity, we have different types, huh? We have different types. Some of you are Jehovah's Witnesses. You have not even sat down to even examine the arguments that have been raised against your faith. Some of you believe in something else. You believe in this, you believe in that. My question is, have you sat down to look deeper into the things you believe, into what people have said about it, to even see whether there, because look at what we say, there is only one truth in this world. If there is truth now, how come we have multiplicity of religions? Do you see it? It tells you that some of us have not been doing our jobs. Let's be honest with ourselves now. Do we have one truth in the world? Yes, we all believe that. True or false? If there is one truth, how come people believe in different things? We believe in different things because nobody has taken the time to sit back to look into their own beliefs to see whether what they believe is true or not. How do you know it's true? By holding it against its own arguments and logical assumptions. By holding it against the arguments of other faiths. By holding it and do you see the passion I'm talking about? I never did these things when I didn't have this encounter. It was from the day that I had that encounter, that I had a passion and a joy to now go and buy a study Bible. If I show you my library, you're going to see how many study Bibles I have. Yet I'm not even planning to become a pastor. I'm not even trying to become an apostle. Have you noticed the churchgoer who doesn't have a relationship with God? He doesn't even carry the Bible. He thinks it is the job of the pastor to study. And he comes to sit down and just sing, "Heli ba 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 ba." You see him? See our life. Who are we deceiving now? We are the reason why people don't even know Christ. Because of the kind of fake life we are all living today. Nobody is real about the pursuit of God anymore. We are all pursuing God because we think God is a money vending machine just trying to feast us. I am calling on each and everyone today. Have a spiritual introspection. Look deep inside you. Look deep inside you. You know within you, you don't have that rest. If you don't have it, be on a journey of yourself, man. God will show up. It doesn't matter whether you are a believer or not. It doesn't matter whether you are an atheist or not. He will always show up to those who genuinely seek him. I am putting that challenge to you today. You see, the stress of this world, the depression of the world, is all because we don't understand this universe in the first place. This is Choco Millionaire. I'm a hustler living in Canada. Grace has found me, and grace is the reason why I look passionate as I am. You see, I am not doing this because I want to win you guys for no, that's not my intention. My job is just to provoke you to begin thinking about things you have ignored. And I'm hoping that one day when you guys experience God, you have that same passion that Paul had. You have that same passion that an unbeliever has when it comes to know Christ. And you speak about the joy inside you. This joy is not because I'm on drugs, so I don't even need coffee. Huh? The energy from inside is not from me because of what I've come to see. Today, if you are a Christian and you are still having doubts, please take a moment, isolate yourself, turn off the music, go into a quiet place, and be genuine in your heart and in your supplications. Ask God to reveal himself to you. If you're a non-believer and you believe in something else, I want you to take a moment to ask yourself the deep questions. Why do I believe in the things I believe in? How did I come to believe in it? Have I examined it for its truth or not? Have I looked at all the arguments that have been raised in time, in history, about my faith? If you haven't, I'm sorry to say, you have a lot of work to do. I have. I've looked at the arguments that have been raised about my own faith. Not just my own faith. The arguments people have even raised about Jesus Christ, I've looked into it. In fact, I have bought books, I've read, and I've asked God himself to reveal to me. I've even looked at the argument within our own Christianity to see why we have diversities and differences. Why the Jehovah's Witnesses don't agree with the Catholic. Why the Catholic don't agree with the... I've even looked at this myself. Not because I want to become a theologian, because I was on the journey to see where the truth lies. I've looked into Hinduism. I've looked into Buddhism. I have studied. In fact, I looked into Sikhism. I've looked into all of them. If you are sick today, have you looked into other faiths? If you are sick today, have you looked into why you believe in the things you believe? Is it because of your parents? They raised you like that, and so you didn't have any other way of looking at any other thing. Yet you already know is the truth. Huh? If you're a Christian today, are you a Christian today because you grew up in the church and that is all you know? Or you have taken a personal moment to look into the claims of Christianity? Have you even looked as a Christian? I'm asking you. Some of you don't even know about Islam. Some of you don't even know about anything. You don't know about anything. Not because they are forced so, but because you are not even interested in knowing the truth. That's a fact. How many Christians today even know about Islam? I'm not saying you're trying to, but have you even looked at what the people who call Muslims even believe in? You've not even looked at it, huh? Have you even looked at what the Buddhists believe in? You've not even looked at it. Have you even looked at what the Hindu also believe? You've not. You know why? Because you were raised as a Christian. That is all you've known. And you've closed your mind to other faith. So if the other faiths were to have the truth, you would have missed it. Just because you were raised like this and you've not even looked at it. For me, I believe there is only one truth in the world. And I believe there are no multiple truths. It is up to us as each and every individual to discover and discern the truth. Simple as that. Anyway, God bless you. This is Choco Millionaire. God bless you. Huh? I'm sweating already. Huh? Let me get off. This is Choco Millionaire. I was talking about stress today. And I've been able to prove that the stress and the sufferings and the depression and the anger we have today is because we lack the meaning of life. And so we are quick to blame people. And we are quick to see suffering as working against us. I've also given you personal examples from Whitney Houston to so many celebrities and people you may know. I don't know them. I'm not pretending to be an expert. I'm only reading meaning into their lives. I'm not judging them as well. Judgment is not in my power. I don't judge nobody. It is also not my intention to convert you. Conviction is not of man. It is of God. But I pray that you will start living a serious life of searching the truth to make your life a better one. Because one day, we're all going to die, including me. God bless you. You don't need more money to live this life. All you need is more wisdom. Share this video. Let it be a blessing to others. And may God bless you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.